So I just want to start this video by thanking one of our subscribers and Discord members for sending along the item we're going to look at today. This is a cooler provided by that member. It's of a Chinese brand that I can't really pronounce the name, but I'll stick that down in the description so you can have a look, see if you recognise it. And it's been a while since I've actually seen one of these coolers that fit horizontally on a motherboard for a while, particularly from major brands. I think the last thing that I saw was the AeroCool Plus Core Plus, which was quite a big one, but I wanted to see what this was like and see if it was any good. So to start off with, packaging wise, it's not that great at all. If you look at even the stats on the side, you'll see that it says it has a 92mm fan with a 65W TDP. Now the information I was provided on this was actually that it was a 120mm fan with a 95W TDP. And once you start looking at the fan, you realise that actually it is 120. So you can't believe the packaging at all. It also tells you what it's compatible with on the side, and it talks about going from the LGA 775 all the way up to the LGA 1156, but we do know that it will support even more because they're very similar in sockets anyway. And for the AMD side, anything from the AM2 up to the AM3, but again, we know that the AM4 pretty much fits. So it's probably old packaging and all of the information is pretty incorrect. If we take a look at the cooler, we will see that it comes as a pretty standard design, very similar to the AeroCool, and it comes with all the brackets and things that you will need. So we've got the Intel bracket already built onto it. You've got the one that goes for the AM4, so it'll hook onto the motherboard. And you get some extra pegs for this bracket and some thermal paste. I'm not going to guarantee the quality of the thermal paste. I probably wouldn't use it myself. It is very thin in density, really, so I probably wouldn't use that. Looking at the style of the fan, it's pretty straightforward, really. I mean, it's a horizontal fitting. It has a 120mm white fan on the top with a black shroud, and the base is full aluminium, so there is no copper plating in this at all. As far as cooling goes, it pretty much performs the same as any real stock cooler from AMD or Intel. So if you're looking at using one of these, and there is many different brands out there, if you look on eBay or Amazon, of Chinese brands that look very similar, you're not going to get really much of an improvement on cooling. So really the only thing that you can, or you would upgrade this for, is for aesthetical reasons. And this is an RGB version. It actually comes as what it says is just basically rainbow RGB, but when you plug it in, you realise that they're not really cutting it very well on the RGB either. Now it does use a standard 3-pin, so it's also not a PWM fan. If we just turn that on, and what we'll see is that it does light up and it does have colours, but what they've done is actually just had different coloured LEDs in each side, so there's no movement on the RGB, it doesn't flash in and out, and their selection of colours isn't that great. But what I wanted to know is, could we actually fix it? Could we do something a little bit different and make it better? So what I've done is I've took a look at how this is constructed, and it's basically just a ring of LEDs in here. This is just an RGB strip of LEDs, and it hooks onto the standard 12-volt connection. So there's 2 extra wires that just come out from the inside up to the RGB. Now to modify this, I've actually created already a new RGB strip, and this uses an ARGB system, and it's got much more, or many more LEDs to it, so we're going to get a much better colour scope on it. The end that I've actually connected to this is a Cool Moon end, so it will go into a Cool Moon controller, but you can pretty much fit any end you want to on these. You could just fit the standard 3-pin ARGB, or you could just use a normal RGB strip and not the addressable. If we take a look at how we're going to do this, the actual plastic shroud has the fan connected to it, so we need to remove that first. All it takes is a couple of screws on either side to remove the plastic. So we'll just take them out. Now that we've got the shroud taken off of the actual cooling element itself, it's worth just mentioning to make sure that you're careful when doing this, because the plastic they use is not that great and you can accidentally break some of these clips. Now we've managed to do it quite successfully, and what's on the inside is a simple twin wire system. We have the wire going into the actual fan itself to be able to power it, and then out of the centre comes another extra wire up to the LED strip, and all we need to do is cut that as close to the board as we can so that we don't need to cover the wires or anything again, and it's very accessible. Just like that, and now we've just take that wire straight out. Now that we've got the wire extracted, we can simply just lift out the LED ring. Now what they tend to do on these, and they do it on other fan type systems as well, like case fans, when you look at these cheaper RGB systems, is it's simply just a ring of LEDs. Now we can put that to the side because we could use that again at some point if we wanted to cut down some of the LEDs and do something a little colourful. And look to install our new system. So finding where the trace went before, which was in this corner, we want to simply enter the cable through the back, lining up the wires back to where they were going through before, and then simply using the sticky back of the strip to go back around the edge. Now a lot of these systems do come with little clips as well all the way around, so it stops the RGB ever being lifted onto something like the fan, because clearly we don't want it to be touching the fan, and we just got to squeeze it down so it sticks into the plating. Once you get it all the way around, we've actually left this strip a little bit long, so we can actually trim off any of the LEDs that we don't need. Trimmed all the cables and made sure that it's well stuck down all the way around, and you may need to just attach a little tiny extra piece of glue, particularly around the wiring pieces, so the wires don't jump up and hit the fan at any point. We're pretty much ready to go. We just need to put it back together again and plug it in. So now that we've got it all back together again, one thing to remember is don't put it together without this bracket in. I actually did it the first time where I forgot to put this bracket back in, and I had to take it all apart again to be able to put it back in. But now it's all together. It's looking pretty smart. We've got two cables coming off it because of the power for the fan and the power for the RGB and the addressable RGB. So let's plug it in and see how different it looks. And there we have it. We now have a much better RGB system on this fan, and it was very simple to do, and it's really cost effective because for this amount of LEDs you're looking at just a couple of pounds, and then obviously you're going to plug into an existing controller or even your motherboard if you're going to use a 3-pin standard connection, and you can suddenly start to actually have it themed to however you want it. You can do pretty much any colours and anything you want. Now if you are using a normal RGB system, usually the LEDs do fit just the same. You just have to make sure that you've got the right size, and that's diameter of the width of the actual LED strip. And I'd like to thank our subscriber again for sending this through. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more mods like this to items such as this. But I think we've got a much better fan now that will actually go with the build, and I'm going to consider using this in the future.